Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I thought we would test out the new MAC concealer. This is their Studio Fix 24-hour smooth wear concealer. This has just launched on Selfridges and will be coming everywhere else pretty soon, but yeah, it seems to be exclusive to Selfridges at the moment. It's $18.50. It comes in 33 shades, which is whopping. I have the shade NC20, which I hope will be okay-ish for my sort of NC 35-ish skin tone. Right now I'm fading fast because we haven't had as much sunshine here lately. Here are some comparison swatches for you, starting at the top. This is Too Faced Born This Way Sculpting Concealer in the shade Almond. This is the MAC new Studio Fix Concealer in the shade NC20. This is Tarte Shape in light medium, which you can see is a lot more of a neutral undertone. And this is Laura Mercier Concealer in the shade 2W. So in the MAC concealer you get 7ml, which is about the same as the Laura Mercier concealer, and you can see they are a very similar size, very similar package, versus like the Shape Tape, of which you get 10ml, and then of course the whopping Too Faced, of which you get 15ml. All the claims about this concealer will be up on the screen. Yeah, it is supposed to be smoothing, 24-hour wear, medium to full buildable coverage with a natural matte finish. Really glad that they went for a doe foot, because that's personally my preference. I much prefer that to like the Pro Longwear, which came with a pump, and then their water weight concealer, which I did not get on well with, and that was a dropper, and both of those are a bit awkward because you need to use multiple tools to apply them, whereas the doe foot, you whack it on and then blend it in with a sponge. So that's my preference. It is a very small doe foot. Here it is next to the Born This Way, and you can see how much smaller it is. So I thought today I would do you a comparison against the Too Faced Born This Way, because for me this is kind of now the benchmark for concealers. It's maximum full coverage, it doesn't soak into fine lines and crease. Nothing funky happens to the shades throughout the day. They stay exactly as they are. It doesn't oxidize, it's long wearing, it doesn't have a bad scent. You get a huge amount of product for your money. So for me, if I'm gonna start purchasing a new concealer over this one, then it has to beat what this one can do. So we're gonna compare the two today and see which does better. Okay, so I'm gonna start off with the Too Faced concealer on this under eye side. Everywhere else I will just do the matte concealer, because obviously it is very hard to do half a nose and half of the chin, so I'll just compare in the under eye area, and everywhere else we'll try out the MAC one. So this concealer, as we know, performs very, very well. It's a very high coverage with a small amount. You get a huge amount for your money, and it's got a good shade range, but I do hear people saying that most of the tones run pretty yellow, and that is obviously an issue for some people if you're after a more neutral or cooler undertone in your concealer, that there's not as many options for you in this one. So you can see it blends out immediately. It's really brightened up that under eye. It's pretty much covered everything. So I'm just going to go in and set that with my Huda baking powder. Never had any issues with this concealer. It does not crease on me at all, which is very impressive for a 30-something-year-old. So yeah, really impressed with this concealer. It works beautifully with the Huda powder. I've had no issues, no complaints at all so far. So everywhere else we'll now do with this MAC concealer. And I will say the first thing I noticed upon opening it, it has the exact same smell as the Studio Fix Fluid Foundation, that exact paint-like smell. Okay, so I wasn't really expecting as much coverage. The doe foot is obviously a lot smaller, so it's kind of takes a lot more effort to get the product where you want it. It's hardly a lot of effort, is it? But you know, if you are in a rush, the Too Faced will be quicker, just because it's got that bigger applicator, and it is a really teeny tiny one. If you can see, it is quite tiny, so great for like priming your eyelids. Very quick to blend in there. I tend to do my under eye area last because I like to leave my concealer to kind of sit there. Okay, weird stuff is happening. Keep going, keep going. Seems to be like caking up a little bit. Oh no, it's okay. It's okay, just had a little bit of a moment there where I was a bit nervous, but we've kept going and it's going fine now. It's blended out pretty nicely. I definitely don't think it's giving me the same amount of coverage as I've got here, but it's brightening. Yeah, I mean, it blended out really nice and quickly. I definitely don't feel like, it doesn't feel heavy at all. Let's set that before we have any mishaps. We're not baking today, just setting. Don't feel the need, you know, I just want to see what the concealer does. I didn't actually really notice the smell at all when I was applying it, but when you open it and if you smell it, you do get a strong whiff of that Studio Fix scent. Now, concealer is always one of these funny ones. It's very hard for you on camera to see what I can see in the mirror, so you're kind of going to have to take my word for it a little bit. I will say definitely the Too Faced has more coverage. You can definitely see, and I'm sure you guys can see, that on the side with the Too Faced right here is completely covered, whereas in here you've got some darkness still peeking through. Now, I don't think you're going to be able to pick this up on camera, but to me I can see that this side with the Too Faced is definitely looks more hydrated, whereas this side does look a hair drier. It still feels very lightweight, it doesn't feel dry, and it looks more matte. The MAC side looks more matte. Try saying that one quickly. But I have had real issues with MAC concealers lately and creasing and soaking into fine lines, and this doesn't seem to be doing that at all just yet, so that is really, really promising. Not as full coverage as the Too Faced, but it's not bad either. I'd say it's on a par certainly with the Laura Mercier as far as coverage. Does feel very lightweight and very comfortable. Okay, so I'm going to finish up the rest of my makeup, and I'm going to give the concealers a couple of hours to sink in, to settle down and see if anything funky or weird is going to happen or going to change, and then we'll be back to see how they're doing. Bye bye for now. Okay guys, so we are back now. It has been about 2.5 hours since I put these concealers on, finished the rest of my makeup, and just kind of been going about my business for the rest of the day. For me, the most important thing here over these last couple hours is how the matte concealer has settled in. It has not creased. It hasn't really settled in my fine lines. Nothing funky has happened to the color. It hasn't oxidized. It hasn't suddenly dried down a lot darker or anything like that. They still look pretty similar as far as shade under both eyes. It does feel very lightweight. I don't feel like I have concealer on under either eye, and the Born This Way is very good in that area. It feels very lightweight, very comfortable, and I'm surprised that the MAC feels as comfortable as it does, because it, you know, it said matte finish, and I was thinking in my head, oh, it's going to be Shape Tape, it's going to be heavy, it's going to look heavy, and it's going to be too drying for my under eye, but I think it looks really good. I think it doesn't quite beat out the Born This Way just because of the coverage is better on this side, and it does look more hydrated, although it doesn't feel necessarily any heavier or anything or more uncomfortable. It does, for me, the Too Faced side does look more hydrated than the MAC side, and it is just that slight bit more coverage, but it is definitely, for me, the best matte concealer that I have tried in recent years. I used to love the Pro Longwear, but as I got older, it started to crease on me, and I hated the MAC Water Weight concealer. This, for me, is streets ahead of both of those two now. So if you are someone who's really struggling with the shade range of the Too Faced, say you have pink or more neutral undertones, or that's what you want from a concealer, definitely worth trying the MAC, because obviously that shade range is incredible and, you know, almost equal. I think there's a few more yellow undertones than there is pink, but it's very, very close. It does give you a lot more options if you do have pinker or you want a more neutral undertone in your concealer. I've got on really well with it. I've liked it. I think it's lightweight. I think it's got good, decent coverage, and it has not creased on my 34-year-old under eye areas, which is a bonus. I like the shade as well. I don't think it's too yellow. I don't think it's like orangey at all. I think it's quite a natural yellow undertone. I quite like the undertones, really happy with how it looks on my under eye. It's brightened it up, but not crazily so. So there you have it. That is everything I have to tell you about the new MAC concealer. If you have any questions or if anything weird happens over the next few days that I need to tell you about, it will be down below. If you're not already, please consider subscribing before you go. I would love to see you again in a future video. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye, 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 bye.